Waited all day at work to come home and break this news to everybody because I've been looking through reels on Facebook and I haven't seen any news about this, and this is like the biggest thing I've seen in the Charlie Kirk case yet. It seems to be the reason why allegedly TPUSA and Erica Kirk and everyone else that's supporting that trash over there now, because it is turned into trash. That's literally what it is now. Anyways, they got all scared when it came to the Fort Huachuca thing and the Egyptian planes, because there's some merit and truth to that. And I'm going to let you guys in on some little knowledge that was dropped on the Stu Peters show and the evidence that goes along with it, showing the links from the TPUSA and their planes meeting up with Miriam Adelson, the same lady who donated $200 million to the Trump campaign. Yes, you heard that correctly, and listen to this.
Be deleted. Okay, so when you started looking into flight data, the first screenshot that I have here is tail number Alpha Alpha Foxtrot 1 Delta Delta. Take us through this aircraft and what this screenshot represents.
Sure, yeah. So this is an image of an aircraft that's owned by Miriam Adelson. I call it 804. That is one of her large BBJ aircraft that, the family uses. It's not usually the one that we see her specifically flying around on, but family, VIPs, immediate associates, that's a friends and family aircraft. And as you can see, it right there is on the runway along with another smaller plane that's 582 mm, and that aircraft belongs to Turning Point USA. That particular date, that is August 14th of last year, and that's just one of, I think, of about 24 or 25 occasions where they met up on a runway and hung out for an hour or two, and then the Adelsons flew on to Israel.
Just to be clear, that is a jet that is owned by Turning Point USA or used by Turning Point USA?
That's right. So as far as I know, from what I've been told from insiders from Turning Point, the jets were donated to Turning Point and to be used by them for the duration of their fundraising campaign. They've used them exclusively for the past 2 years at least.
Okay, so these jets have been exclusively used by Turning Point USA over the last at least 2 years.
That's right. I'm not sure how far back it goes past 2024, but at least since 2024.
And on how many occasions are they on the tarmac with Miriam Adelson's aircraft?
Around 24, 25 occasions. And although, that's an interesting data point, it's really what they're doing beforehand and after that seems to be a little bit more of a concern. So that is why we kind of narrowed in on, are these guys in the same place at the same time? And the information says that yes, they very frequently are, and they exhibit a pattern that, for me, I feel pretty comfortable saying that it needs to be investigated further. That's for sure.
Okay, and you did that. So that takes us to November 10, Mike Sierra.
That's right. So there's a number of aircraft that are specifically owned and operated by the Adelson family. These are all large aircraft that are owned and operated by the Adelson family. So you can see that MS at the end of the tail number, that N108MS, that I always think of it as like Miriam and Sheldon. That's how I just simply remember that those are the ones that are the family and friends aircraft. Sometimes they'll have a tail number that ends in LS for Las Vegas Sands. But generally speaking, we've really narrowed in on 108 as being the aircraft that most commonly comes and meets up with Turning Point planes.
I don't know if people understand the magnitude of all of this. Turning Point USA aircraft on over 20 occasions meeting with Miriam Adelson's aircraft. How long are they meeting up? You said about an hour?
About an hour or two of overlap usually before the Adelsons take off for Israel. So what we've observed is that on several occasions, starting in, I believe, July of last year, with increasing frequency. At the beginning of the year, I would say that it was happening on about an every 30-day basis, but by the time we get to July, it's every 2 weeks. At that point, these Turning Point aircraft are doing their fundraising activities. And then they immediately go meet up with the Adelsons, and the Adelsons fly on to Israel for 1 day, and then they come back.
Okay, hold on a second. Turning Point USA aircraft meet up with Miriam Adelson's aircraft for roughly an hour of overlap. And Miriam Adelson's aircraft then immediately leave and go directly to Israel.
That's right.
And then they come back the following day from Israel.
You know, just speculating here, but we do know that Miriam Adelson did contribute $100 million to Donald Trump, ostensibly to annex the West Bank. And so the question for me became...
That was actually said.
That's right. Yeah, said to Andrew Colvett and Charlie Kirk, I believe, by Donald Trump.
Yes.
Right. And so that was that 100 million investment out of the, I think, 200.
And that was according to Andrew Colvett, by the way.
Yes, at 6 weeks before Butler, if I'm not mistaken. And so the timing is a big coincidence, I'm sure. But when she made that, donation and she requested this annexation of the West Bank, I started to think about the fact that, you're purchasing a president and you're purchasing, I'm sure, a number of policies. But from a practical standpoint, how do you annex the West Bank without arming settlers? And if legally you are not able to arm them using Israeli weapons or the weapons that we send them, right? If you're
then
not,
how would you get them there?
How do you get them there? Because from a practical standpoint, we know that gun violence by these Israeli terrorist settlers actually increased over the course of last year by 24 to 27%. So the question becomes, how was there an actual increase in gun violence when they have these incredibly strict gun laws? How do you get to that? And if you are not getting new weapons in and there's no obvious spot that you're getting them from, then how did that happen? And so that was a lot of why it felt as though the fact that they were pulling up to these various airports, including the ones where Iran-Contra came out of, including ones all over Texas, including ones that are directly associated with the cartel, with other weapons smuggling organizations and operations that have happened in the past, it stopped feeling coincidental, especially once I could predict Turning Point's movements and the Adelson's movements based on how frequently they were doing this.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a call to action. We are going to take some calls for Ana Escobar.